Welcome all, and thank you for joining us in this webinar on MTBC iPrescription. My name is Maksud and I'm one of the industry specialists here at the MTBC. Now in today's webinar, we will show you how MTBC iPrescription can help the providers to e-prescribe on the go. Now before I start and I get into the details, let me first tell you that you have joined us on this webinar session by using GoToWebinar service. You can see a GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen. This service allows you to ask questions, and if you want to get rid of the panel or minimize it anytime, you can do that by using the orange arrow button that is pointing towards the right corner of your screen. This will allow you to minimize the panel and to access the screen as much as possible. If you want to ask questions at any time, there is a question section on the GoToWebinar service. Open up the question section, enter your question, and submit it. And we will try our best to answer all the questions that will be asked during the webinar at the time they are asked or at the end of the webinar session. If you are unable to answer all the questions that will be asked during this webinar, we will be reaching back to you by email. Now, let me just tell you a bit more about our company. MTBC was founded back in 1999, and we have got clients in the 60 unique specialties in 42 different states all across the country. We have got 2,000 plus employees who are working 24/7 operations, and our technical support team is also available 24/7 to help the clients day-to-day questions and all the queries in regards to the products and services that we offer. We have been among Deloitte Technology Fast 500 company for the last 4 years. We are a Microsoft certified gold partner, and in addition to that, we are in cooperation with 500 over 5,000 companies for the last 5 years. We are also a SureScript certified solutions provider, and we are listed on NASDAQ. Now, let me just tell you a bit more in detail about this MTBC iPrescription application. This is one of the phenomenal apps that has ever designed by MTBC, as it eases out an e-prescription for the providers, and they can prescribe medications anytime they want and from wherever they want. Now in today's webinar, we are going to focus on the following points. First of all, we would like to let you know that how providers would be able to view and authorize the refill requests that are sent to them by the pharmacies and from the patient's end. The provider will be able to view complete patient chart, including the past medical history, allergies, before they prescribe the medication to any of the patients. You would also be able to send a new prescription and view all possible contraindications and adverse reactions against selected drugs. By using this application, MTBC iPrescription, you would be able to make outgoing calls to the patients and pharmacies directly from the application. And this app also allows you to send or receive secure messages to the patients as well as the office staff. Now, by downloading MTBC iPrescription on your smartphone, you would be able to, first of all, approve or deny refill requests that you will be receiving from the pharmacies as well as the patient's end. You would be able to view patient's last chart before you prescribe any new medications. That means you would be able to know that which medication that you have prescribed to the patient earlier, and you can just have a look at it before you start prescribing the new medication to any of the patients. You would be able to view drug contraindications before you prescribe a new medication to a specific patient. The e-prescription has been made much more easier and faster, as the prescribers or the providers can now prescribe the medications anytime and from anywhere they want. No matter if the provider is in the office or at home or at the hospital, he can just use this application, MTBC iPrescription, and he can just go ahead and prescribe any medications according to his own convenience. Moreover, you would be allowed to send or receive secure messages to the patients directly from using this application. We are just going to go into the details of how that you can just avail these features in a moment. And similarly, you would be able to send or receive messages to the office staff as well within the same practice. Now, as you can see on your screen, the first time when a provider logs into the application, it will take him to the screen that is being displayed on the left icon on your screen. If the provider is logging into the application for the first time, he needs to go to the settings feature. Once he taps the settings, it will take him to an entire different screen that is being displayed on the right hand side of your screen. Over there, he needs to select the default prescriber. Let's say if there are multiple providers in the same practice, then he has to select his own name in order to begin the e-prescription. If it is only one prescriber in the entire practice, his name will be selected by default. After that, he can just go ahead and select the contraindication level by tapping the yes or no button, and as well as he can just add the contraindication level according to his own convenience. Now, once you select the provider's name, you can go back to the main screen, and as I've mentioned before, you can just check the refill requests by tapping the prescription manager feature or prescription manager button. That is going to take you to another screen that is being displayed on the right icon on your screen at this point of time. If the prescriber does have any refill requests, they are going to populate on the top right corner of the screen, and he can just tap that button and he can just see to it which refill request he wants to approve or deny. The next feature that has been enabled in this application is that you can also select the time frame from which you want to see the different categories or different options that has been shown in the screen at this point of time. The provider is able to select the time frame, and after that he can see which medications that he has prescribed earlier went successful, or which are still pending, or which are still queued, etc. Now, moving on, one of the next features that I would like to talk about is patient search. A provider is able to search the patients by using different criterion, that is first name, last name, or the full name of the patient, even the account number. If the prescriber wants to add a new patient, he can just click or tap on the right add new button that is displayed on the right top corner of the screen. That will allow him to add a new patient and prescribe him a new medication. Once the provider will select the patient, as you can see, as you might have seen in the screen earlier, over here the prescriber was typing a name for the patient. Once he has done typing the name and once he selects the patient, it will take him back to the main screen. That will open up the patient's account for the provider. Now, on the top right corner of your screen, as you can see, there are about 3 unread messages from this specific patient that the provider hasn't reviewed yet. And he can just go ahead, tap on the messages button in order to review all the messages and reply to the patient according to his own convenience. Let me tell you one more thing, that this application also allows to make phone calls directly to the patients or the providers by using this application. And as you can see, the telephone symbol, it allows you to make phone calls that will be answered on the patient's cell phone, and the provider can make the phone call directly by using this application. Now, MTBC iPrescription also gives you an option of viewing your patient's loss chart before you prescribe. In order to view the patient's loss chart, you need to tap on the chart summary button. That is going to take you to the entire new screen where you can view the vital signs, the allergies, the immunizations that you have given to the patients before. And you can even check the past medical history of the patient. Any medications that the patient has been taken before, that can also be displayed before you prescribe a new medication to the patient. After the provider is done reviewing the chart summary, he can just tap on the new prescription button to prescribe a new medication. As you can see, there are multiple features available on the main screen. If you just tap the new prescription button, you would be able to prescribe a new medication to the specific unique patient. Now, once you tap the new prescription button, it is going to take you to this screen that is being displayed on the left icon on your screen, where you first of all need to enter the details that are being required before you prescribe a new medication. You need to enter the prescriber name. That will be selected automatically by default, as you have already done that by using the settings tool. If there is a certain pharmacy that was already entered while creating the demographics for the patient, it will automatically be populated. But if you want to enter a new pharmacy, or if the patient is moving to another state or another city, and if you want to enter that pharmacy instead of the pharmacy that is automatically being entered, you need to click the pharmacy box and it will allow you to add a new pharmacy. There is different criterion in order to search for a new pharmacy name. You can either search it by my list, my state, or all. If you select the patient button, that will allow you to search for any of the pharmacies that the patient has been using before. Now, the next feature that is enabled in this application is prescription history. Let's say if the provider comes across any of the patients who has been taking a certain medication for quite a longer period of time, and if the provider wants to wants the patient to continue taking that medication. He does not need to go to new prescription feature in order to enter the details all over again. What he can do is he can just go to prescription history, and there will be a list of the medications that the patient has already been taking. He can just tap the renew icon button that will allow him to send the prescription directly to the pharmacy. So making a new prescription is pretty much easier and faster if the patient is taking the current medication, and if you want that the patient should continue taking this medication, all you need to do is you just need to tap the renew icon button. Now, as I've told you before, in order to review the patient messages, what you need to do is you just need to tap the message button on the top right corner of your screen. That will allow you to get hold of all the messages that the patient has sent earlier. And let me just add this thing to your knowledge, that the messages that the patient is going to send, he will be sending it by using his PHR account, and the provider doesn't really have to use the WebEHR in order to access all the messages. He can just see the messages by using this application, that is MTBC iPrescription app. Now, as you can see, there are about 300 messages. So if the provider just tap on that 300 messages button, it will take him to this screen right over here. And as you can see, there are about a list of messages that the patient has been sending to the provider earlier, but there are about 3 messages that are highlighted. That means they are unread. So if the provider wants to reply to the patient, he can do that by just tapping on any of the unread messages, or if he wants to compose a new messages, and if he doesn't want to reply to this list of messages, he can just compose a new message as well by tapping on the plus button that is available on the top right corner of your screen. Now, as I've told you earlier, you can tap on any messages to view the details. Let's say it was the lab request messages or lab test messages that the doctor has tapped for. Now, it is just going to take the doctor to this screen over here, where the doctor can reply to the patient by typing in the text next to send button. And once he has done typing the text, he can just press the send button and the message will be sent to that specific patient. All right. Now, once he has finished doing that, he can just swipe his screen towards left, and it will take him back to the main screen. Now, if the provider wants to reach the contact screen, he can just swipe his screen, and it will take him to the contact screen, where he will be able to send the messages to the office staff and as well as the patients. Now, in order to compose a new message, he needs to tap on the plus button that is available on the top right corner of the screen. And if he wants to reply to any of the contacts, he can just do that by opening up the message and replying to the certain office staff member or the certain patient himself. Now, you can just also go ahead and rate this MTBC iPrescription application. Let me just remind you that this application is available for all the Apple users as well as the Android users as well. And if you are an Apple user and if you are using this application on your iPhone or iPad, you can just rate it by using the Apple Store. And if you are an Android user and you're using an Android smartphone, you can just rate this application by using the Google Play Store. Now, in order to rate the app, you can just tap the Rate Me button, as your feedback is really valued and will help the MTBC IT team in order to improvise the application. To start rating, you just have to tap on the Reviews tab button. Now, we have came across a couple of questions. Let me just get hold of all the questions that we were being asked during this webinar session, and I will try my level best to answer all the questions that were asked during this webinar. Now, the first question that we came across was, will the messages that will be sent from the patient's end, will they be directly be saved into the phone's memory, or where it will be saved? The answer to this question is that these messages will directly be online synchronized in the WebEHR, and it can be accessed later on. If the provider is using the WebEHR, he can just go to the Messages tab and access all the messages that he has been sending or receiving by using this application. Now, the other question that we came across was that if the provider adds a new patient and prescribes him the medicine for the first time, will the chart for that specific patient will be created in the WebEHR? The answer to that question is that yes, the chart will be created in the WebEHR, but the only thing that will be activated or enabled will be the plan of care medication tab. And if you want to enter the rest of the details, you can do that later on, as the charts will automatically be created, and you can add the ICDs or CPTs later on by using the iHR app or the WebEHR, whatever suits you better. Now, there is one more question that I came across. It is, if a patient sends me a message on iPrescription app, will this help me with the meaningful use stage 2 requirements? As you do know that there is a certain measure that is secure electronic messaging in meaningful use stage 2. So if the patient sends a message to the provider on iPrescription application, so the question is whether it will help the provider in fulfilling the meaningful use stage 2 secure electronic measure measure or not. Alright, the answer to this question is that we do have to look into the technicalities related to the meaningful use stage 2 measure, and we will be getting back to you for this answer by email. Alright, the next question that I came across was, if the provider wants to access the entire list of messages from the patients, what he has to do in order to access those messages. Now, once the provider logs into the application, by default, he would be able to view all the messages or the entire list of messages that the patients have been sending him by tapping the message button that will be displayed on the top right corner of his screen. Once he taps that, he would be able to access all the messages that the patient have been sending him. If he selects a specific unique patient by going to a patient search, he can only access the patient messages for that unique patient. Alright, the other question that I came across during this webinar was that a provider from New York State has just asked this question, that whether he would be able to prescribe controlled substance by using this application. The answer for that is no. You won't be able to prescribe electronic prescription for controlled substance for now by using this application. But in future, there might be some changes and we might get back to you in regards to that. Alright, for all the providers who are in New York State, if you want to do electronic prescription for controlled substance, you can do that by using eHR. If that feature is enabled in the WebEHR, and you can just go ahead and use the WebEHR in order to prescribe the electronic prescription for controlled substance. Now, if you've got any other questions or comments, you can just go ahead and send us those in the email. You can just go ahead and contact us at info@mtbc.com. You can also visit our website, www.mtbc.com/webinars.aspx, in order to get hold of all the webinars that have been conducted in MTBC so far. We are also available on Vimeo, and you can just go ahead and open this link that is being displayed on your screen right now. And in case of questions or concerns, you can just reach our technical support team anytime at 732-873-5133. Now, that's pretty much it for now. I thank all of you for joining us in this webinar. I hope it proved to be an informative and a helpful session for all of you. I wish you a very good day, and bye-bye from my end.